I always get super excited with our intro because it's so. Oh no, you bought the Dune cup. Oh no,
No,
you can't
sorry,
do that.
Madam Web. I
Oh. Okay,
I
okay. I was
decided
getting ready
not
to
to
say
buy
because
the
I was like,
Dune popcorn bucket.
I
I
don't want
mean,
you to eat that Dune popcorn out of that. That's not what it's for anymore. Well, we got our own butter on top of that popcorn. If you haven't realized, we're talking about Dune 2. We're talking about all the mishaps that they had with some of the
and we'll
marketing.
get to more about the popcorn bucket later.
We will talk more about the
After
popcorn
dark.
bucket, but it is very dark, very dark. Well, let's start right off the bat. Dune 2, it is a synopsis time. Paul Atreides unites with Chani and the Fremen while seeking revenge against the conspirators who destroyed his family. Facing a choice between the love of his life and the fate of the universe, he must prevail to prevent a terrible future only he can foresee. Yep. It's always that shit. All right, let's take a look at this amazing star-studded cast. And there we go. We've got Elvis, Austin Butler. I like how Austin Butler gets top billing. Like, wait,
Yes.
isn't there more people in that? Anyway, Timothy Chalamet, as you may remember him from Willy Wonka. Florence
from
Pugh.
the Black Widow movie and
Yep, she's in Black
Hawkeye.
Widow movie. Yep. Zendaya, who was in
from
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
Leah Senois.
From the James Bond movies.
Ah, there you go. Rebecca Ferguson.
Rebecca Ferguson from the Mission Impossible movies.
There you go. Stellan Skarsgård.
From isn't that guy who was in Thor?
Yes, he was in Thor from the Marvel movies.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken, who played Max Schreck in Batman 2. Javier Bardem played Stilgar, who was in Pirates of the Caribbean. Josh Brolin, Thanos, and Cable played Gurney Halleck. Tim Blake played Nelson. Oh no, Tim Blake Nelson's his name at Cure. Charlotte Rampling played Gaius Helen Mirren. And Sir, not appearing in this film, Stephen McKinney. Of course, David Bautista played the Glasu Raban. So that was the cast. Let us get into right away to what worked. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Belial, who lived on the planet Arrakis, to tell us what he felt about this film. What worked for you, Billy?
Well, one, I'm glad that this one wasn't released the same way as the first one. The first one, of course, was released during the pandemic, which meant that you didn't get to see it in theaters. You had to see it at home because you had to have it streaming on HBO Max. The difference
Unless
is
you were me, and I saw it in the IMAX. I still went and saw the first one in the IMAX. If you saw this one at home, you missed out. Go ahead, Tilly.
Yeah, there was no IMAXs in my area. That was the problem.
Oh, really?
The only IMAX was
right, because you live in the trees. You live in Fern Gully. Yeah.
Yeah, so all my theaters were in lockdown at that time.
Oh.
So I had to watch it on HBO Max. So the first one, I hated the first Dune movie. I like this one so much better than seeing the first one because I actually got to see it on a big screen and actually got to have surround sound.
Wow.
And the levels were good because the first one, I kept on having to play with the volume because the audio mixing for home video release was horrible. The soundtrack was at a higher volume than the audio, so you'd have to raise the volume for the dialogue and then lower the volume once the music started because Hans Zimmer, awesome soundtrack, but technically a very freaking loud soundtrack.
Yeah.
So when you have soft-spoken actors for the first movie, this one I could actually hear what they were saying. I was like, it doesn't sound like they're whispering every line of dialogue. They're actually talking. They're speaking. Range, vocal range, octaves. I enjoy this very much.
So I actually saw Dune 2. It was the first movie I saw back in theaters after the pandemic. So I was super excited for Dune 2, Dune 1 rather. And I didn't have those problems because I saw it. There's a town called New Rochelle, south of you. I highly recommend going there for IMAX in the future because it's you get the full IMAX experience. It's actually a buddy of mine who was part of that project. He used to be the projectionist there. Eve, I don't know if you remember him. Shout out to Eve.
Yes, I heard him.
Yeah, we all went to college together. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Eve was a projectionist for IMAX. So he had special training, and I think he can like do like Spider-Man and crawl the wall and stuff like that. So big shout out to him. But he told me like you really want to see this in that IMAX or in 72nd Street because the other IMAXs are just like one big screen. They don't have the full experience. So timing wise didn't allow for me to do that the second time, but the first time I did that and it was so amazing. And I met a good buddy of mine who I'm still friends with today. And he's a sound engineer that helped me out with some couple projects, but that has nothing to do with Dune. What is to do with Dune is seeing this on IMAX was incredible. Like you said, the balance was amazing. And because I went to the Paramus IMAX, which is pretty close to where my home is, I got a lot more exciting Dune. Again, clear sound, everything was balanced, just like you were saying, but it was like immersive because the screen is still huge. It's not the 30-second, 70-second, and nerd shell size, but it's massive, and you experience Dune. I was thirsty. I bought a big bottle of water because I felt like I was in the desert. I was like, I'm gonna need some water because it's gonna feel arid to me, and it did. So,
Yes, make
what
sure you don't
worked?
lose your waters though.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't spit out the water. What worked for me in this movie particularly was the fact that they interwoven some of the mythos a little bit better than the original 1980s Dune, which like I love the 1980s Dune. I will always love the 1980s Dune, but this one just had a little bit more. And that's because they gave a lot more love to one of the important bad guys, Fade Ralpha, and he played by Austin Butler, and he was just like menacing. It was amazing what they did with him this in this version. He was making everybody bald, and seeing Planet Gidi Prime was incredible because it was a black sun, so the lights were voided and everything was bizarre. I absolutely loved it. I think that that was one of the best things that they could have done because the original it was just black, everything was dark, and it just seemed depressing. But this one, there was like it was very bright, if that makes sense. So when you had this special Secret Service mission by the Emperor's daughter, who that's the same character, like even though that's played by different actresses, it's supposed to be Princess Irulan, right?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah. I think that worked. I mean, it was a guise of mystery. You're wondering, is that her? Or what's going on here? And I really enjoyed that. They added a layer to the story that the original movie didn't have, but was present in the books, as well as the big surprise about who's your granddaddy. Who's your granddaddy, Belial? Baron Harkonnen. Yes, that twist was friggin' awesome. I thought that that was well woven into this movie. They did talk that was touched on in the book. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I read it. Maybe I should go back, but they did mention that the Bene Gesserits were woving the families throughout the centuries in order to make the Kwisatz Haderach, and they Jessica was supposed to have Alia first, and she was supposed to be the Kwisatz Haderach, but she wanted to give the Duke the son that he desired, so she did for love what she didn't do for duty. This cast worked very well. I think the only one that was kind of a little off, and that's because he's advanced in his age. I feel like he was more whispering than anything else. Was the Emperor Shaddam the Fourth, Christopher Walken. That has nothing to do with his acting. I felt like if they did this 10 years ago when he was the emperor, it would have been more exciting. Paul, you want to fight? Fade can do it with my blade. I think he would have had more oomph. I just felt like he was like slowed down a little
Yeah,
bit.
he was. All right, time to go back to the home.
Yeah, put
Oh,
Grandpa back in the wheelchair. It's like,
oh,
um,
sorry.
yeah. But I, he's still. It's just seeing Chris Walken on screen is always good, regardless of his age. And there's still a lot of great things about this movie. Gurney Halleck got his time to shine. Josh Brolin, I feel like he really did it. He got a level up in this movie compared to even Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart, though, I think, sorry to Josh Brolin, is his version of Gurney Halleck was amazing because he emotes so much, and his acting is very, very hard to beat if you compare the two. But if you don't compare the two, I think Josh Brolin really killed it, and I found it interesting that they got that final battle. But we'll get into that later. And of course, we can't go any further with talking about one thing that worked for everybody in a very weird way, and that's the Dune bucket. Sure,
Your
your
girlfriend's
girlfriend's
hot,
hot.
but mine is the Dune 2 popcorn bucket.
Yes, the very auspicious Dune 2
AMC.
popcorn bucket. What's that?
From AMC.
From AMC. Yes, a marketing faux pas, if you will. It was a good idea, but like, dude, really? Did anybody like talk to anybody that was a teenager before they did that? And then a lot of people, I'm just here to fuck the popcorn bucket, dude. Too. You can those shirts are available. You can Google it. I'm not
And they're cheaper
supporting,
than the popcorn bucket
and
itself.
they're cheaper than the popcorn bucket, which is just incredible. Let's hop into the antecedent. What didn't work? So aside from the popcorn bucket, what didn't work for you, Billy? Belial?
Well, let's see. I'd still say, like, for some reason, I have mixed feelings on Hans Zimmer's scores and stuff.
Oh, well, Hans Zimmer. I mean, I appreciate him. He's a good um, composer. I loved Gladiator, but I didn't really like his Batman. Like it was just a horn. That's
Yeah.
like all I got from Batman. And same thing with 2029. There was just a lot of noise. Like when the car was driving around, it was very noisy. But I mean, I get that. It kind of worked, but at the same time it didn't because it's so freaking noisy.
Yeah, as I said, it's better to hear it in theaters, but it's still like, even when it's mixed properly,
Hmm.
it's still like, okay, kind of, I would say, comes across as pretentious.
Mm.
And it's just like, tone it down a little.
Tone it down, Hans. Tone it down.
We're here for Dune, not for you. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else didn't work for you?
Occasionally, like, well, it's funny. I know the whispering thing that's always been part of the Dune franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody always makes fun of that.
Yeah. I really have to go to the bathroom, but the stilt suit's not coming off in time.
But I gotta admit, like, the bad thing is the South Park Tom Brady episode has ruined that gimmick for me because now that's all I think of when I think of that.
Yeah.
The Spice Melange.
Yeah.
I'm like, I shouldn't be laughing when they do that, but I can't take that part seriously. And
Mm-mm.
it's supposed to be serious and like supposed to be unsettling. It's
Right.
supposed to be like, oh, this is supposed to be like the like the manipulation and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't, but I want to laugh.
Yeah. And anything else didn't work for you? Any of the actors, acting, anything?
Not in this one. I would say, if anything, the first movie, Oscar Isaac, because he did ruin
Yep.
one thing
I
for me.
felt this Yeah, he didn't really. Oh no, Huey, what are you doing, man? Like I feel he was too chill, California chill in the first movie. That was
Yes.
always the problem I had when they remake Dune. The guy who they got the first time. Let me do a quick Google search. Dune, 1980. His name was Everett McGill. No, no, that's Stilgar. He was pretty dope. Okay, Jordan Pintrall, who's still alive. He's 82 years old. Wow. He played Arnold Schwarzenegger in a movie, I think as the governor or something like that. That guy had so much. Like when the first time they come across the spice miners and the worm comes and goes, "Oh, somebody's gonna pay for this," and no, no, no. And he's like so vigorous. It's still hard to compete with him. I think he's still the best.
Yes.
Uh, Duke Leto and
But
William
all I
Hurt was
think
so
of when I think of Oscar Isaac is Star Wars, and more so
good.
the memes of Star Wars.
Yes.
Like even with this movie where he's not in it, the first thing I saw, like when the soldiers were going up the hill and flying up, was they fly now? They fly now.
Yeah.
Like, damn you, Oscar Isaac! Why do you put that in my head? Why do I constantly think of that whenever I think of a franchise you're associated with?
Yeah, no matter what. Even in what was that? Moon Knight. I still was like, they fly now. Like he every time. Every
Yeah, it's
time I
like
see
no
it.
matter what, it's just like he could just walk into a scene, and if somebody does goes vertical, you go, they fly now? They fly now.
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah.
damn you, Oscar Isaac, why did you have to do that and ruin that for me?
Yeah.
And
Um mhm.
I just still think I don't have much complaints about Dune 2. It was actually a very good movie. It was a long movie,
Yeah.
but it's tough because you were trying to transform what was a long book series and a long mini series into 3 movies.
Yeah. So for me, what didn't work was the womb baby talking to her mom. And that's Alia talking to Lady Jessica, which I thought, okay, yeah, they can't really here's Lady Jessica, because I thought she looked pretty dope. They can't really go and bring up a talking 2-year-old, so I get it. So it kind of worked, but at the same time, didn't. So that one's like a weird hit or miss for me. But her running around in like that pod on the worm was like original 1984 Lady Jessica. She jumped right up on that worm and rode it. Like, what happened? It was wild. It was like, how the frig did they just not do that? It was just weird. Francesca Annis in the original one, she really like killed it. She's about 80 herself too. Patrick Stewart's 83, and Sean Young still killing it at 64 years old. Um, the the things that they added, like having the atomics plain hidden in plain sight, though it was funny in a moment that of levity in a very overly dark film, it just kind of didn't work for me. It was weird because you got like this random seal, like the Harkonnens never found that. Like Fade was literally going in bombing the hell out of everything, and they never found those bombs. Like that kind of was bugged out. But I know even if he would have, it was a catch 22. If he would have blown it up, then it would have nuked Dune, and there were so many of them that it would probably destroy the planet, and it would have been worth it. So maybe they just left it alone. But that was a little ambiguous. Um, and I just would like a little bit more clarity on this aspect because it seems like there were 3 different characters in that moment. It was Fade, it was the Emperor's daughter, Alani, and it was Ulian, excuse me, and it was this other character, and I was a little unclear, but I would probably watch it again to see. But that added story was still really dope, and that's like I really got nothing bad to say about this
Oh wait,
movie.
I do
I'm
have one
honest.
bad thing I got to throw
Oh,
in.
okay, yeah.
One more thing for the segment. Timothy Chalamet when he's playing like kind of crazy towards the end, it's like Yeah, you're not as believable as you think you are.
Yeah, he's too tiny. But then
Yeah.
Paul was supposed to be 15, so I think Timothy Chalamet passes off as a 15-year-old.
Oh yeah. But the bad thing is he's also acting the way you would expect a 15-year-old actor to play. And
Yeah,
it's yeah, the reason why you cast an adult is because they perform better than the 15-year-old.
yeah,
You should have an
exactly.
adult that acts the same as a 15-year-old.
Yeah,
If you can have a performance that looks like a 15-year-old can do it, have a 15-year-old do it.
yeah. It's kinda hard,
Don't
though.
have like an adult that has like that level of maturity in their performance.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's get into the reception. Probably the highest Dune grossing movie of all time. It quadrupled the original 1984 release. It doubled already, and it's only been a week and a half. It doubled the first Dune, and it just continues to soar, especially overseas. Internationally, 212 million, domestically 157. I think it'll top out at 200 here and maybe 400 international. It may double up. I maybe gain another 50 million here and then double overseas because it seems to be a very big juggernaut overseas, especially because your cast is very you can see yourself in the cast. Like Javier Bardem, though he was very a Spaniard, he's a Spaniard. I think he pulls off a Muslim type character very well. The Fremen, which are based on the Muslim faith, I think they did a really great job depicting them in this film, and I think that was probably one of the big highlights. Again, another reactionary highlight was the final battle between Gurney Halleck and Bautista. I thought that was pretty dope because in the original movie, the Baron enters the hall with the Emperor and he goes, "What have you done with my spice?" And then Raban's head is just sitting there on a platter. This one they gave it another like throwdown between him and Gurney Halleck, and Gurney wins this time, which I loved. So that was cool. Really good reception. I think that this is going to be the new sci-fi universe that people are really into. What do you think?
Yeah, I was saying this before we started filming. I was saying like this is a new trilogy. This is like every generation gets their trilogy. There was in the 70s and 80s you had Star Wars. In the late 90s, early 2000s you had The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now this is the trilogy. Dune is
Yeah,
the trilogy for the 2020s.
yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Dune Messiah is the next entry into this. This is when Paul's jihad, his holy war, consumes the universe. And I don't want to spoil anything, but 61 billion people die because of what happens in the events of Dune 2. So it's going to be like the thing about the Star Wars trilogy. You got A New Hope, which is ends in a hopeful. Then you got the second one, which is ends dark. This one is kind of like the first one ends dark. That was your Empire Strikes Back. The second one ends kind of like hopeful because all right, we beat him, but we still got to deal with the rest of these assholes, the Landsrod, all the different houses. And then the next one's going to be another Empire Strikes Back because they strike back hard, and there's a murder on one of Paul's kids, and it's just it gets very dark. So it's going to be interesting how they portray it in the future. But did you hear how long we have to wait?
No, I didn't.
All right, so Dune 3, Dune Messiah, will probably not hit theaters until 2028 or 2029.
Damn it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a long time, man. It's 2024 now. So we're looking 4 years or 5 years from now. So,
I'm
um
definitely torn because it's like you don't want them to rush movies, but you
right.
also partially want to see the damn thing.
Right, you don't want them like the benefit that we got from this is because it's really one story that they just put into 2 movies. So, we got an extra and it worked out really well because they split it up. Dune Messiah is, I believe, a shorter novel, so they may not have to split it up as much. but they're going to have to keep the pace up because it's a slower novel too. So they're going to have to do a lot of weird stuff with the sequel and really do it up because they really don't get into how much suffering happens because of the decisions Paul made. And then he has to take the shining path of the holy path or something like that. And he refuses it and passes it on to his kid. And that's when the story really gets awesome because his kid is Shai Hulud, which is the giant ass worm that you want to just put on a t-shirt, right? So so that's gonna be interesting because this is where the story goes in a direction that you're not prepared for. There's mythos in this that is like I still think about it, even though it's been maybe 10 years since I've gotten to the stories and
Yeah,
what they
actually,
can.
there's a good thing you can do, at least while you have this time to wait. Maybe
Yeah.
reread the originals.
Yeah, exactly. I got 5 years, I can do them all, you know? And the other thing is you got characters like Ali is gonna show up in the next one, who was kind of supposed to be in this one, but she's super powerful, and it because she Lady Jessica drank the water of life while she was pregnant, it's gonna be really weird for the next because she's probably not gonna be the most sane person in the world. But I am excited for the future of this franchise. I hope that they can do it in 2026, not 28, but we'll see. 27 would be great. But maybe they'll film back to back. They'll do Children of Dune and Dune Messiah, so we don't have to wait another 5 years for like Children of Dune. But once they do Children of Dune, that's as far as the TV series has gone. So we'd be in territory that's never before seen. So there's so much they can do. And Frank Herbert's children actually wrote book Dune stories, so we'd have a lot of availability with that as well. And it would be really cool if they made those into like TV stories for HBO Max. You guys want to make that money? Oh man, that's an opportunity there. Money, money, money.
Yeah, right now I think the Herbert family's getting like the last laugh because I remembered. Here's a fun piece of trivia I got to mention.
Mm,
When he was alive, he sued George Lucas
really?
because of Return of the Jedi.
Why? Because of the
The Sarlacc pit
Sand
was very much
Sarlacc.
like some of the stuff from Dune.
Wow. Did he win?
No, they settled.
Oh. Oh, he got money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good trivia there. That's awesome. Well, that is going to wrap it up for this episode of 1 Week Later. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. All those wondrous things that just help us. And then, just follow us on all the wonderful socials. We have To Be Seen, where you can reach out to me because Billy doesn't have social media. You
Here
can
on
also,
YouTube, people can see me in the comments and talk.
yeah, that's true. Exile Media. I got to add that. I'll
Yeah,
definitely do
number
that.
one exile,
Number one
exile media.
exile. Yep. On the Console Room podcast, the Doctor Who show. Please subscribe and ring the bell. It helps us a lot. And what really helps us more than anything else is giving us a like. Your likes transcend us from mortal to Shai Hulud. They make us a big worm that you can just put on top of a bucket and have fun with. If you like Doctor Who, as I mentioned, the Console Room podcast is available every Tuesday. We're going to be off for this Tuesday. So next week, we'll be back in the Console Room. And we want to visit our producer, Jason Hatswell, over at Pop Culture Spread with his buddy Rick. They're talking about movie and streaming news. And of course, you want to know about the wrestling that's going down, don't you? Right, Billy? You want to gut everything. This is the road to WrestleMania. Everything is important these next couple of weeks because WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling event in the WWE, is happening. It's the 40th anniversary, 40 years of wrestling. And AJ Orsini is going to guide you through the time because he himself is 40 years and he can get all the good wrestling information because he has a personal connection to it, kind of like the Dune Cup. He can just, give you so much pleasure in the new world of wrestling. So
Just
until,
full of spice.
yeah, just call it Spice. And then, of course, you can check me out at the Captain's Quadrant every Friday now at 9 p.m. we are talking Star Trek. We're going to do gaming again, and there's going to be some new games, not just Star Trek. We're going to expand that a little bit, have some fun. So please be sure to join us over there. Subscribe. We just celebrated 1,400 subscribers. So tomorrow we are dropping a very special, because hopefully this comes out today. This is the Monday that you're watching this. If not, go and watch Star Trek Starships You Need to Give a Shit About. Those are the other ships of the TNG era. So be sure you check that out. A lot of fun. And our good buddy from Star Trekking Up North, from the Nerdy Up North, Michael Adam Goodwill, joins us and sits down and just talks Starship for an hour and a half. So it's a lot of fun. And if you love Starships, you're going to love it. So until next week, be well, subscribe, share, and let us know how that Dune mug worked out for you. He who controls the lube controls the cup.